Oh, I thought I turned that off. Howdy, everyone. Ooh, it's trippy because I've got the virtual green screen on, and it's already clipping out the background. So let's jump over to a different view. I'm trying to work out where I need to go to kick pretzel get rid of the Pretzel Rocks user, and I can't remember where I set up that account to come into be able to post in my chat. The easiest way, I might just block them. I wonder what happens if I just block them. Can't do any worse than it's currently doing. Welcome back. Just going to turn my headphones down a little bit. So I am today going to pick up kind of where we were end of last week. Ooh. Trying to wait. Did the stream drop out? No, I think it's just me. So end of last week, I was getting code spaces, or at least trying to get code spaces up and running so that we could have it. I have that remote dev environment rather than doing it all on my local machine. I was hoping I could get around some of the stuff I was having with SSL certificates not being ideal, but that wasn't working quite as well as we wanted last week, because when I was running it in code spaces, what I was finding is a whole bunch of errors were popping up in the C# code, or just the .NET code in general, like types weren't being resolved. And I found during the week, OmniSharp, yeah, it's OmniSharp. So the OmniSharp project, which is the VS Code extension that gives the like the C# code completion and all the type annotations and discovery and things like that. That was still that actually has a bug in it that means it doesn't work in code spaces. So I was just trying to remember where it was. Code spaces. Yeah, so this is the issue, and I've been following along, and yeah, basically it's exactly like this is exactly what we were seeing last week, where like we'd open up and it'd be like, hey, system doesn't exist. I'm like, well, not having the system namespace is a little bit of a problem. Yeah, but it looks like this is actually an issue with OmniSharp and the way that it's loading all the type information or something. I said there's some stuff in the GitHub issue that's explaining it, and it's being tracked, and people are trying to get through to like the root cause of it, which is a good thing, because hopefully that'll fix that up. But I thought that, well, the other thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to set up a dev container. So I've got the .dev container folder in here, and we set up the dev container JSON file, and then that's just kind of telling it how it's going to launch up everything. But then we have the Docker file, which is what we're running. And at the end of last stream, I was trying to install the Azure Function Core tools so that we can run the functions from within inside of the container. And I was trying to do that in this massive like run block here, and then that was failing. It turns out that, well, at least what I'm pretty sure the reason that it was failing was because this apt-get update and then all those other steps, like that's being done as the equivalent of the root user inside of the container, which is not when you should be doing like an npm install regardless. But at the very least, it was really going badly with inside of the install of this particular set of tooling. So I added, well, I found that you can actually change the username when doing Docker. So I just added a new Docker step, which is user, and then $username, which is the username that's created at the top. So they actually do set up a user specifically to do this, which is useful. So with that, it should actually work now. So if we'll come back to here, it's going to stay cool, staying on my branch, and let's fire up a new code space. And this is going to take a few minutes as it pulls down the Docker image and all that sort of stuff. And let's hope it all works well and good. I'm going to have some lunch while we're doing this. So I know that it's actually pulling down our dev container, because we can see that the build container steps here are running all of the additional things that I added, not just a standard container. And the useful thing of that is that I've obviously got this preset up for the stuff that I want to have there, but it'll take a bit longer to start up. This is why I think like if you wanted to use dev containers kind of like as a dev workspace at your company, I'd actually be looking to push them into my own container registry, whether that's Azure Container Registry or wherever it might be, so that you every time you start up a dev container like this, you don't have to go through the whole process of like pull down the image, run the Docker file, because this one's doing a whole bunch of stuff to set up. Like you want to kind of speed up as much of that process as you can. Particularly because I've got it, it's still doing, I've got ZSH as well as Bash, so people can change their shells, which, it's fine, but it's probably not really what's needed at least not in this demo app. There we go. This is where it was failing previously. So we've got the Azure Function core tools, so it's pulling those. It might have worked this time. Fingers crossed. All right, well, it's definitely done more. Yeah, huzzah! Container should start up. There we go. Now, I've been having some issues where it doesn't connect to the workspace on the first attempt and you've got to restart. So with CodeSpaces, there's two steps to it. First thing, it creates the environment that you're going to run in, which is essentially a Docker container. Even if you're running just the standard one, it still, from what I understand, runs inside of a container. That's where the VS Code server is hosted. So that's getting spun up, and then you open up the workspace within inside of that dev container, and it looks like that. Yeah. So this is the error that I've been hitting a few times. It fails to open the workspace. I think an extension might be crashing or something like that. Let me just give it a reload. So then just reloading it tends to fix it. You don't end up having to create the whole you don't create the whole code space from scratch because you've already got that VM or that Docker container provisioned for you for it to run in. It's just I think, like I said, I think the extension crashes or something like that, probably on the code space server. There we go. Cool. So that's done. It's dropping it into the root of the Git repo where I actually want to be in the SRC folder, but I haven't figured out how to get it to do that with the dev container. But I think everything is now going to be up and running. Just as it finalizes the creation of our code space. Excellent. All right. Sweet. Well, it's found everything. So, yep, that's the solution. I'm just going to ignore that for the minute. We'll just ignore some of the. Oh, there's like all the things that all the pop-ups. Look at all the pop-ups coming in from it. Just relax. I want to run an MS build restore. That's the one I want first up, because then I have all the code base there. Oh, actually, this is going to take forever to do a restore because it's going to be restoring across all the save points as well. Okay. Well, let's leave that run. And then I'm actually going to reopen the code space inside of the source folder because I don't need the stuff that's in this this root, whatnot. Oh, close everything. Actually, if we go open folder, just get it to change. We'll just do that workspace/source. We'll just reload and move into the correct folder anyway. There we go. Cool. All right, so should detect that solution, and then hopefully we're not going to end up doing a restore across absolutely everything. Let's just update settings and blah, blah, blah. Now I think, cool. There we go. .NET restore. Run the restore here. See if we can get it to properly restore everything that we need. Because, yeah, interesting. It really only restored. Oh, whoa, wait. Yes, we want the build assets. We don't need the Blazor debugging link yet. I'm gonna need that soon, but not yet. All right. Now, it is possibly sorted. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just gonna link this with my normal Microsoft account, which is where I have all my settings, so I can get my theme and all that sort of stuff. Choose that. Interesting. Off screen, I'm getting an error saying the Microsoft Edge has crashed. That's fine. Won't have connected to localhost because localhost didn't exist. Let's just try that sign in again. Well, that's going to be fascinating. Like maybe because now I'm running inside of a Docker container that I've custom built for this, not inside of the standard containers that are, yeah. So it's then trying to redirect me back to localhost. It obviously doesn't translate through the code space like endpoint properly, which means that the callback fails because it should actually be hitting, I think, this as the callback. Let's try hacking the URL and see what happens. So it should hit back to there as the callback, which then tells the VS Code server that it has completed the auth flow. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to be able to sign in and get my theme. Oh, that's disappointing. I'm not going to be able to get my settings and I'm going to install a theme. No, I want to find my 1984 theme. This is the one I'm playing with at the moment. Reload. Got to go a little bit retro. All right, with that theme installed, we'll activate. I'm gonna have to change. Man, it's so much more convenient when it just like I can sync my settings. There we go. Cyberpunk theme, that's better. And settings. Where is the? Oops, not JSON. Settings. Oh, I can do it in here. We want font. Editor font family will be Cascadia Code Powerline. There we go. And then I don't think I need to turn on ligatures. Font ligatures true. Oh, maybe I have to. Let's see if we have to explicitly turn them on. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Now we will go to the ASP.NET folder, .NET watch run. No, I gotta go into that one, and then .NET watch run. And no, terminal, we'll create a term create, there we go. And then we'll go into the serverless, and then into the F# folder. Oh no, and this is where we need to do npx func start. Now, theoretically, I probably don't need to run npx anymore because I should have. Oh, that's not going to work because it doesn't have my local settings up. Righto then. So I don't need to run npx anymore either because if I should have installed the function core tools globally. I mean, the fact that it just ran means that they were there. But if we do which func, we'll see that they're installed for the version of Node that's there. Which great. That's what I was hoping for. So I'm going to go and grab those that local settings file. And we will copy and paste it up, but I will do that slightly off screen because I do not need to share my Cosmos connection string. I think there's other connection strings in there as well, in fact. Open up the wrong VS Code project. Where is it? There it is. Should be able to just copy and paste the file up. Question is, will I be able to drag and drop the file in, but not have it automatically pop up into a new into an open file? Wonder why I'm still getting red errors. Wonder what that's about. Maybe running inside of a custom container on Codespaces didn't fix the problem that I was having. I know. It's obviously just it just hasn't loaded in the types on some of the files until I navigate them. We'll see. Just open up some of these files that it thinks there's an error in. We'll see if it gets. Hey, look at that! Open up the file with an error, and the error goes away, and then it pops up in another. It's going to be a game of whack-a-mole. That's going to be somewhat annoying. And all right, open this file for copying. See if we can just drag and drop it in. The one thing that I've not quite keen on with Codespace in the browser is that the shortcut keys are not quite the same as when I run just like VS Code normally, because the browser actually takes precedence on some of them. So things like Control W to close, like if I want to close a file, that doesn't work the way that I would expect it. And the number of times when I've been playing with Codespaces and I do that, and then there goes my Codespace because I've just closed the browser tab. I'm like, oh, whoops, shouldn't have done that. Okay. There we go. All right, let's drop it in. There we go. Very quickly loaded. Excellent. Where did it put that file? Oh, damn it. That file has been uploaded somewhere. Oh no, it is there. Sorry, there was just a lag in terms of it appearing in the Explorer. Excellent, so it has loaded up that file, and then we could do func start. And if everything is good, we should have that just, yep, load up, and our functions should also be working. We come to our Remote Explorer here. See, there we go. We have all of our external ports. But the interesting thing is probably going to be that need to change in the client. What was it? It was in program, I'm pretty sure. That's where we... Oh, no, that's right. We were just doing a hack to replace the base URL there. Yep. Okay, well, let's... 5001. Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get it running on HTTPS, because that wasn't working last week either. We'll launch that one into a new tab. More notifications that Microsoft Edge has stopped responding. Pretty sure it is still working. This was what was happening last week. The HTTPS redirect didn't seem to work. And we came into the ASP.NET server here. Startup? Yeah, it was startup. And then use HTTPS redirection. Let's do that. Just check. That should, yep, restart our server. 5000 instead of 5001. Get this code space up and running. See if it works. If not, then we're gonna have to do some digging into why it doesn't want to work on the HTTPS redirection. But like I said, then again, it doesn't necessarily need it because the application itself is running on port 5000. Is running on HTTPS. I'm gonna have to change go back to the client. Whoa! Oops. No, there we go. That tab did actually crash. This is going to be a really long, tedious stream if just everything's going to crash on me like that. Yeah, okay, so that's... Yeah, I'm going to have to change this one back to 5000 then. Because otherwise, we are not going to... Yeah, we're going to get an unhandled error because it's not going to be able to load up any of the things that we need. Come here, program, 5000, save. Ooh. I'll have to restart the processes because they will unlikely to be still running after the crash. Yeah. Really wasn't happy with all of that stuff there. Oh, where's the terminal? Let's just check. I think with the disconnected tab, it should have terminated those servers. Cool. That looks like it is. Well, it's gonna be a long day. Okay, let's just close Edge and start again. Well, there we go. So it looks like that's back up and running. So if we can get the terminal. If it's going to keep crashing here, we might just doing it in the browser. You know what? I'm going to fire up a VS Code instance just as a backup. Yeah, it's file and connect now. Blazor server might be running, might not be running. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flick over to VS Code and just get me to close. It's going to get to close the current remote session that's got open to internal stuff that I better not put on the stream. There we go. Close that tab because it's just probably going to crash again for me at some point. And we will come to our Codespaces Explorer. This is like a really cool aspect of the Codespaces is the fact that I can use the VS Code that's installed on my machine to then connect to the Codespace because it's just a client-server model. So the client is just the UI that you see for VS Code. So you can easily have the server running elsewhere. And I wonder if they deliberately designed it like this, like at the get-go for that client-server architecture, or it wasn't designed maybe with Codespaces and like WSL remote and containers and stuff like that as like forethought, but it just so happened to do that. Which one was it? It was that one. That's the one we wanted. And it just so happened that they were able to make Codespaces as a nice side effect of the existing design. Yeah. I like to think it was planned. And while that's happening, I'm going to lower the desk down. Getting tired of standing. There we go. Whoop. Oh, I'm getting really tired of watching this creation log coming out from Codespaces, though. That's for sure. Like, yes, I get it. We're creating a Codespace. We've already created the Codespace. Just connect to it. I was intending to get a whole bunch of stuff done. I wanted to start playing around with the auth side of things, because that's like the one core remaining feature that we haven't put into the refactor of Blazor, of Blazing Pizza. It's just currently got a hard-coded user, and we need to put a proper auth model behind it, because when you sign in, when you have that that username that we associate each order with, and stuff like that. But yeah, haven't quite got to doing that yet. Awesome. So we're in. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to assume that this is the correct code space. See if we can get the terminal going. No, I don't want you to load there. Which func? We'll just make sure I'm in it. Okay, cool. So we're in the right one, and we're going to open the folder within the workspace. Workspace, source. That's where we want to be. We don't want to be at the root. Oh. Okay, so there is definitely something to be said about doing every development bit locally. But we're here. We're getting there. Loading up. We'll get our terminal open. We'll start our servers. And fingers crossed, we'll be able to actually hit this in the browser. There we go. Right. Let's get status. Okay, cool. So it's the only one we've changed. ASP.NET. And then we'll do .NET watch run. So another terminal for opening up our functions. Now, one of the main reasons I wanted to go with code spaces, I think I said this last week, is that for some reason with the WSL remote stuff that I've been doing, it doesn't allow me to do debugging. I can't attach the debugger because it doesn't detect that the UI is attached properly, as in the VS Code UI. So the debugging protocols just don't work. I mean, which is fair. Like if you don't have an attached UI, it probably thinks that the debugging is probably going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. But that is, I think, more of a symptom of the WSL approach than of the debugging protocol stuff, which is within inside of VS Code. So I'm hoping that I can get around that by using VS Code Remote. I'm just waiting for the terminals are taking a long time to launch. Like everything is taking a long time to launch. In fact. Let's have a look. Because it's all remote, it shouldn't. My machine shouldn't have any impact performance-wise on it. But let's just have a look. There's not a whole lot of stuff running other than like the usual stuff that you got for streaming, like OBS and whatnot. That's consuming much resources. No, let's. Still going to terminate something that's in running while we, see if I can actually switch between these terminals. .NET, there we go. Wow, like it's only just hit the .NET run, the .NET watcher. That's interesting. So let's have a look here in the Remote Explorer. Ooh, maybe it is going to be having an issue because it still thinks the port 5. Oh, no, sorry. I specify that I'm exposing port 7071, even though it's not currently running. The container knows that it's going to be exposing that. Okay, well that's better. We want to go to serverless, and then blazing punk. There we go, and then func start. No, that's not how you spell start. Now I've got to wait for that to crash. Whoa, power. So still have the remnants of WSL running, which is taking some resources, but like I said, it shouldn't, like, local resources shouldn't matter because it's now remote. And yeah, the fact that this loading projects is still spinning does give me some cause concern. It just means that things are still taking a long time to not really get anywhere. There we go. Control C. Kills it like you want it to. Func start. Okay, and now let's try and hit this in the browser. Copy port URL. Ooh, fancy. Okay, no, it did kill the previous one because that was when it was running in the browser with the remote stuff. Did reloading it did terminate the running.net processes, so that's why the port forwarder failed. Whereas now, because of the way that this is running, there is still technically that remote server running somewhere, but it doesn't have a URL endpoint that I'm connected to this time. So instead, what it does is it sets it up with a local proxy. So I now hit it on localhost with a different port than what I would be expecting it to run. It's not running on port 5000. But this probably means that I'm not going to have the HTTPS stuff is going to play back into it because I won't have a certificate. Relying on like the localhost self-signed certificate, which so one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Okay. Wow. What's Ironade doing? Why is it still loading that project? Why have the functions not started? This is it's not been. Whoa. Okay, and then now I've lost the connection. I think today's stream might end up being a lot shorter than I was intending it to be because this is just definitely having something wrong performance-wise. Maybe we're just gonna have to ditch code spaces. Oh yeah, unless it is my machine that's the root of these performance issues. But the fact that that's timing out now is not a good sign. Yeah, it's disappointing. Disappointing. All right, well, let's load up the copy I have locally. See if that wants to work. Or we just go, my machine is It's having too many issues. Let's call it a day. I've lost that remote connection, that's for sure. Oh, the WSL one's going to take a lot longer to start up because I killed the VM that WSL was running in just before. That's what I was trying to do to get back some resources, was to terminate that running VM. Oh, and there's a new WSL server as well that it's pulling down for VS Code. All right, well, I'm going to kill the code spaces one because it's lost connection. I don't know what's happened there. Yeah, that has been rather disappointing. I haven't seen it time out like that before. And then I'm gonna leave it running in the background in the browser, see if we can get anywhere. Don't want that DevTools up anymore. Yeah. Oh, maybe we can just try on with all the other stuff that we were going to do, which was around auth. We'll run like multiple concurrent dev things at the moment, because we'll pair program it myself. I just swap back and forth between two different instances. One's in CodeSpace in the browser, one locally. Okay, so from an auth standpoint, it's actually kind of tricky when you start thinking about it, because at the moment it's running as a .NET Core server, and if we just have a look into sort of how that works from an authentication standpoint, come to the startup class. Up the top, what it's doing is we have a SQLite context using any framework, but then we're adding the default identity that ASP.NET ships with. So what this stuff does, it stands up an identity server that is based off of, or it's using OIDC, OpenID Connect, as the way that you do the authentication with it. So when you do a sign-in request, actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll fire this all up, and I'll show you what's actually happening in the current one, so that we can get a bit of an idea of what we need to try and replicate for the next version of it. As we just see, what's all running. Just ignore those. And we're file, open folder. Because I can do all this in either location. They're running at the same commit point. Source. Okay, so we'll reload there. Come on. Yeah, that's performing pretty poorly. So the identity stuff, it will hit like an endpoint to get back your OIDC server configuration in the Blazor application, and then when you sign in, it follows a fairly common OIDC flow, but that's because I've got it hosted within inside of a server itself. So you actually just sign up with an account inside of the application that we've got running. We're not signing up with an account that is in an external provider. Like, let's say that you wanted to use Twitter to sign in or something like that. Then you need an OIDC server that can support a flow that goes out through one of those external providers. Ooh, and it looks like I might not have the latest code base locally. Let's just git pull. And that's what that little down means in my... Yeah, okay, cool. So there's a few things that I was missing. So good thing I got those. I think they're really going to be majorly impactful. And this one is just not opening up. The other folder which I asked it to, Workspace/source. Okay, just open up that. All right. Now if we go to source, ASP.NET, and then here, and we can do .NET watch run, and then we'll. Oops, I want to split it across that way. I'm back in my homeland here. I've got tmux running now in my local dev container, so that's giving me a lot more confidence. I know the shortcut keys, but because it's I'm just using the terminal inside of VS Code, I can't do the splits quite the same. I need more space than that, so we'll just do a new terminal. And oh yeah, so if you bring up the command palette and type term, that's how you can navigate between all the different terminals that you've got within inside of your VS Code and create new instances of them and stuff like that. Useful one, particularly if you got a lot of terminals open. Let's go to serverless F#, and it's really aggressively wanting me to read the documentation about running Blazor debugging from VS Code. And npx func start. Now I know I don't have it installed globally on my machine, so I need to use npx there. Oh look, we've got one step forward with in browser code spaces, but it's still like this terminal is still taking a long time. Okay, let's go functions, and then I know I can go localhost 5001, because I know that works fine locally. Bring up the dev tools, so we can actually just watch the author that's happening. Get an idea of, so we know what we need to implement when we're not using Blazor hosted in ASP.NET Core, which is the end goal. Like the end goal is not to be hosting Blazor in ASP.NET, to host it on a static host like Azure Static Web Apps. So that's where we need to get to. All right. Term 1. Let's come back to here. The server is started. It should be there. Oh, weird. It's definitely started now. Back over. Okay. The functions are starting up. All right. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff that's happened. Downloading all the various Blazor DLLs because they've all changed since last time. There's the functions. Yeah, let's just reload. I think it might have run, like it tried to preserve log. Let's get rid of the preserve log and clear all of that. Wait till it finishes reloading. There we go. Okay, cool. Interesting. I'm gonna have to have a look at what the Blazor.boot. Is it? Do we get response back from here? Preview. It didn't hit the functions. Because localhost. That's right. Because I've got the hack in the client here program. That's why it didn't work. Base address contains localhost. but the base address does contain that. Interesting. Get base address. Did I determine what? Base address, local host. Local. Is that spelled? That's not spelled wrong. Nope. Console.write line base address. I wonder what I've got wrong there. And this is where we yak shave. Hey Jack, welcome. No, it doesn't work yet. We've been fighting with a exceptionally laggy machine for the last kind of 57 minutes. Codespaces keeps disconnecting on me, and I've been having a bunch of issues with my browser crashing. So it's actually been a really good start to the day. Now, what was I had this one open because I wanted to see if we could get things running. There we go here, .NET watch run, just because we're going to run things side by side. Term create, and then the serverless folder. And func start. Okay, let's have a look. The console. So what's the base address then? Because if the base address should be localhost. Right? And yeah. Yeah, so it's right. It's failing to get that. So, wait. No. Of course. Yeah. I know why that's. Well, I know why that's broken the way that it's broken. It's because it's going localhost. Oh yeah, that's fine. And then put 5,000. No, we're going to just do replace 5001 with 707.1. I think I need to work out something better that can inject yeah, I probably want to inject some settings about like the environment that it's being hosted in. Need to work out if we can detect if it's being hosted in a ASP.NET Core host or in the Blazor dev server. But yeah, we'll get back to that. Oh, of course. The file's changed. Those ones. Let's see, they are running. Ooh. What? Oh, no, the container is still running the old processes. That's a problem. Top. Yep, I'm probably going to need to find like all of the... Oh, jeez. That's going to be a fun one to work out how to kill. How do I work out what ports are bound to what process in Linux? Nmap? No, that's Windows. Come back to that one yak at a time. Unless someone wants to put in the chat how I work out what processes are bound to a port in Linux/Unix. That can hack together. Okay. Oh, of course, and it's not on HTTPS. Oh. HTTP local host 7071. Oops, that's not right. 7071, not 70701. Oh, that's going to need to take a while. Linux, what port for process? I don't want to just arbitrarily kill every one of the .NET processes that are running in the CodeSpace instance, because some of those are going to be running the extensions within inside of VS Code as well. So kill the wrong one and gonna kill a lot more than you actually intended. Wait, why is that not started? Come on, .NET. There. It says it started. It's just been, this is the story of today. Nothing wants to play nice. There we go. Okay. Now let's watch all the stuff downloaded in here and assume that it's going to just work for the nth time. That's taking forever. I'm bored of that. Righto, okay. So as this loads, and hopefully it's going to load correctly, going back to the point of auth, excellent. Because we've got an OIDC server running underneath, what happens when Blazor starts up is that it's just running purely in the browser. It doesn't know that it's got an ASP.NET Core server behind it. It just so happens to have that. And when it runs, you have to tell it where to find the OIDC server that you're going to use. Now, inside of our application, because we're starting this up with the identity server provided here, and the API, the authentication that is then understood when it loads up, it just knows that you're using the authentication of the provided server. Like it has that information given to it when it starts up. So what it will do is it comes in and it makes a request for a OIDC config file, and that is there's kind of a loose convention that it looks at .well-known/open-id-configuration, but different services will provide that differently. Okta provides it on something different to what Auth0 runs it on, to what Twitch uses and things like that. But ultimately what it does is it returns you a JSON payload that looks like this. This is then a bunch of information about how you would consume that OIDC server. So you'll see things like an authorization endpoint. How do you authorize the current user? Where do you have to send them to? What claims are supported by the OIDC server? So what can you ask for from that user account? You can see that there's a bunch of different things that we've got here provided from this out-of-the-box one. How can we authenticate? What kind of responses do they support? What kind of authorization flows do you support? Is it code? Is the one that we actually primarily use in the browser, because it's almost treated as machine to machine. That's where code comes in, but then you've got a bunch of other ones in there. OIDC scopes, like what's available there. OpenID and profile are the two main ones that you kind of want to have access to from a server, because that's forget what OpenID is specifically, but profile is then that user's profile that you can then pick the specific claims out of. Now, scopes are going to be dependent from the server. You can see here that we have blazingpizza.server API. Now, that is a scope specific to this OIDC server. Now, if I then used like an Okta endpoint, Okta is going to give me a different set of scopes which I can configure with inside of its portal, and so on and so forth. So that's ultimately what we're going to be wanting to set up here and achieve. But I think probably to do that, we might need to stop running it inside of the ASP.NET Core hosted one, and that's going to be an interesting challenge. That was kind of why I wanted to get this stuff up and running, because I could at least set some breakpoints maybe. I've used my other laptop to find out work out what's listed on NStat. That's it. NetStat dash TLPN. Oh, I don't have NetStat on here. Well, that's which one? Let's have a look at top again. Which one's actually consuming a bit of resource? Oh, yeah. Let's have a look at the .NET ones. I am going to just randomly pick .NET processes and kill them and see what happens. Ha ha ha. That sounds like a terrible idea. I can only disconnect the code space. Actually, no, I don't need. If it's running, it's fine. Like it's running. Because it's running in watch mode, so I can just click on here. Let's see. Like it might still just work. Oh, welcome, Mitch. Yeah, you missed the notification of go live. I mean, go heckle. Or no, so that's actually crashed Edge. I've got a notification on my other screen. So sweet. I can say it's been a really, really productive day with everything crashing. So that means that the code space is probably going to crash pretty soon. We'll leave that running for a moment. Anyway, well, let's leave that running. Okay, so let's do it locally. I'm going to kill the Blazor server that we had running there, and instead, so it's actually just this Blazor client application. This is the folder I care about. That's the one where I want to be doing stuff. So we'll go back down a couple of levels, and we'll go into Blazing Pizza Client. Oops. Let's just go client. There we go. But if we're ever looking to see a project file for this one, it's just it's a net standard project. It just it outputs essentially a class library. So we need to. Well, I can't just do .NET run. That'll tell me that I can't do that because it's a class library. When it decides that it wants to do that. Ooh, maybe our code space is running. Running enough at least. Okay, pop off terminal. So inside of here, we'll run them side by side and see what we can do. Oh yeah, but because I can't kill that process, that might be a problem. Yeah, okay. We'll see that we can't run the project because it doesn't output something. It's a net standard. Which is just outputting a binary set. It's not outputting an application. To do that, we're going to need to have something. We need something that could self-host it. I could maybe use something like Light Server. Do I have Light Server? Oops, no, not List Server. Light. Do I have Light Server? No, I don't have that as globally installed. fundamentally, what I need to be running, I think, is this folder, this www root folder. I need that there, and then it's got a whole bunch of like files within inside of it. That's the application. So I need that in a web server, and I kind of want like hot reload and things like that. So we could go. What we're going to do is we're going to go to NuGet, because there is actually a NuGet package that can help us out with this. Well, do I? Yeah, Blazor dev server. That's the one. Yep. So this project here, the WebAssembly dev server, I don't want the .NET 5.1. I want the 3.2.1 project. So this is going to add a new thing to our project file here, and I'm not going to use that version. I'm going to use just the Blazor version that we're running everywhere else. So we'll pop that in. Blazor version. So that save that, and then I'm going to need to do .NET restore. Now I don't think I need to change the project type for that. Find out in a sec. If not, I can. I've done one of these as a sample before, so we'll have to have a look. But I should be able to do .NET Run now in this project, and it will .NET Run. It will detect that dev server is there, and then it will run that dev server, which in turn understands the WebAssembly structure that's being output by the Blazor application, and then run it inside of that. Fingers crossed. All right, let's also just do it up into code spaces. Save that there. Pop up a code space, and we'll come back down to here. Blazing client, no, not Blazing Pizza client, and then we do .NET restore. Okay, bugger, it's going to run on port 5000, isn't it? So I won't be able to do it on code spaces because that's being bound elsewhere. That's popped up to a new port. Should be 5000. Let's just run it. Yeah, let's just run WSL remote. Interesting. Reconnect. It's like every time I tab away, it disconnects. So .NET run. Let's see if this did this tell me the process that was locking that port when I ran it last time. I don't think it did. All right, and now let's open up the dev console and let's see what is going to output in here. So what we should see is actually the network stuff. It's going to want to try and connect to our OpenID Connect server. Awesome. It's 404 on configuration Blazing Pizza client. Interesting. Now I've kept the other one open so that I can actually have a look back at what some of these are. But okay, so that one. So this is giving. Oh, so this is some information around the authentication server as well. Client ID, yeah, that's the client ID to connect to. That's the authority where it lives. And because it doesn't have a path, it's going to assume the .well-known path on it. And then there's the addresses that we're going to log in and log out via. And yeah, what kind of authentication we're doing. We're doing a code authentication. Okay. That's going to... we'll leave that running. So we're going to need to do something that makes this request work. For that, let's close down that so I don't open up the wrong file and try and do stuff in the wrong file. It's going to be over here, I think. Ignore that hack. Okay, so what is in the pizza authentication state? Nothing. So the remote authentication state is something provided by Blazor itself that will give you information around the way that the auth flow works. I guess given that's the return URL. Oh no, when you log in, where you're going to bounce back to. So what's happening in that? But it's been subclassed for the Blazor project. Sorry, for this pizza application to just give you access to an order. I'm not quite sure how that'll get set up. That'll be interesting. We'll have a look. Add API authentication. Add support for authenticating for SPA applications using API authorization provider options. And then, okay, so that's going to be this options object, which is mode authentication options. Pizza. Oh no, it's going to be something different, isn't it? Let's go in and have a look at what's this. Didn't want to navigate through to that. That's annoying. We'll navigate through to that. There we go. Okay, so the remote authentication options, we have our provider options. So the provider options are going to be what we need to configure for our OIDC endpoint that we're connecting to. I guess like that. I guess that's the authentication provider. User options gets the then authentication paths options. Wonder what's on that. The other some generics. Okay, so that's where the login and logout information is. Okay. Blazor OIDC. Okay. Secure Blazor standalone web application. Sounds pretty much what we're after. Cool. Okay. So I need to make sure I've got a reference to Microsoft.ASP.NET Core Components WebAssembly Authentication. Let's have a look. Assembly Authentication. Yep, we've got that one. I wonder what the Blazor version is. That is going to be in a file above where I'm at. We'll assume that it's near enough to 3.2. Okay, so I'm going to need to add OIDC authentication. Let's maybe add it before those auth services. Maybe I'm not going to need those auth services. Okay. Bind. Am I missing? Okay. Missing an extension. So that's easy. Cool. So we're copying that code, and then it says I need, inside of my app settings, I need to provide a authority and client ID. Okay. I'm going to use Okta because I have an Okta dev account already. And that one will be, so that will be easy enough to use. I've done some stuff with Okta, but only Blazor server, so not the WebAssembly thing. Let's sign in to that one. We're probably going to need to set up a application for this, because if we just go back to the doc, so we're going to need to have an authority, which is going to be Okta, and then we're going to need a client ID, which will be the thing that we get from our OIDC provider. And I'm going to be putting those into my Do I have an app settings? Where do I have app settings? That's in. I don't have app settings. App settings dot develop. Let's just do it in the development dot JSON. So that way, I'm less likely to commit it. And then, no, sorry, what am I doing? Let's just copy that chunk in. That's what that last step was doing. Why was okay? I think I'm understanding some of this now. I was wondering, like, what's this like bind? What does local represent? And it's the property within inside of the config file. So I'm going to call this OIDC. So that makes a bit more sense. Oops. And then we're going to bind OIDC. So we're binding configuration property OIDC to the provider options. The provider options will, well, I'm not quite sure what they are, so that's generic. But if I hover over that, they are an OIDC provider options. Come on, hover state, stay with me. Can I click onto that? No. And can I click through to that? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so Octa, let's create a new Blazor application. It will be, well, I guess it's a single page application. It's close to React and Angular and stuff like that. Okay, endpoints. Let's call this Blazing Pizza. Now we are going to have a local host of 5001 on HTTPS. That's going to be the base URL. Let's just put in that for all of the URLs. And what's going to be the login URL? Does it tell me? Let's see. Is it telling me anywhere? What's the URL base that you're gonna log in via? Maybe that was in here. Authentication callback. Authentication, login callback, and log out callback. Okay, so login redirect is going to be that, and then log out redirect will actually be that, but it says log out instead. It's going to be an authorization code flow because that is what we say we want, code flow. So we'll leave that. Done. Okay, let's grab our client ID. We need to pop that into our thing here. Now I wonder what the authority is going to be. What's Okta's authority endpoint? Let's go through there. Let's see, sign on. It will tell me here. No. Assignments. Okta scopes. There's nothing on general. Alright, well, maybe on their docs it will give me that information somewhere. Maybe if I navigate through, let's just keep clicking links until we eventually find what we're looking for. Just gonna keep randomly hitting clicks. So, sign in page, no. Define a callback route, create an Okta application. Add a sign, maybe, well, so it's all going to be based around, use our SDK. It's like, but I don't want to use the SDK. There we go. Okay, so it is my Okta dev account /OAuth/default, which is going to be this, but we'll remove the admin chunk. Remove -admin /OAuth2/default. Save that. Well, let's reload. I realized I forgot to start the dev server here with watch mode, so .NET watch run. Oh, and what's happening with our code space? It's not happy, that's for sure. Well, I'll leave that going. We'll have to create some user accounts we can test with soon. Well, I mean, I can test with the, actually, just while we're waiting for the dev server to stand up, let's just create a user account. Test with. And add person. I don't think I've got, I don't think I've got it set up with pizza person. Pizza at test.com. Actually, no, pizza person. And that can be at test.com. I don't need a secondary email address. But I don't have any set by admin. We'll just randomly generate a password for that account to sign in. I don't care what that password is. Oh no, I do care what that password is. Let's see, did I copy that? No, I didn't copy that to clipboard. Don't. here's how we'll get the password. We'll just dodgily hack it out of the DOM. $0, which is the current element. .value. There we go. There's that person's password. I'm totally just going to delete this user at some point because that password is now just available on the stream. So we'll save that. Oh, username must at at test.com. Yeah, that's fine. Save. Cool. Come back here. Dev server is up and running. We'll reload. Now we're hoping that configuration endpoint is hit and doesn't return an error this time. Like that's going to be my first hope. If it does still error, then that's problematic. We got an error. We got a invalid response from... Oh, darn it. Local host. Oh, and that should be 5001 anyway. Let's just go to the right endpoint. Come on. So it's interesting because it doesn't look like it's doing any of the, like it's hitting the specials endpoint, so it's getting that, but it didn't do any resolution for OIDC information. What happens if I click login? Error. Console. What's the specific cast is not valid. Somewhere deep within inside of something has not loaded up. You know what? Following on from what they had in the demo, like the docs didn't have this, so I'm going to delete that. And let's just check like that. The OIDC. I would expect to at least see that it was giving me the OIDC endpoint call, but it didn't. So yeah, we'll pair back that to not have that API auth stuff, because I think that's going to have been useful only if we were running on a self-hosted Blazor application. Whereas because we're not doing that, I probably don't want to do it that way. Okay, no, let's just land back on the home page rather than reload that one. No. So the flow should be, we call boot, we get the boot, we then reload the Blazor config, the Blazor application, because that's going to have changed, and then it gets the config to then go to OIDC, I think. And that's going to be the flow. Okay, let's have a look again. Back to the network tab. So boot, Blazor binaries. Give me the OIDC calls. No, it's just gone straight to specials. That doesn't make sense again. And then login is failed, probably that specific card. No, oh, here we go. Can I provide the value property authentication service to remote authentication call? Because there is... Oh, hang on a sec. Something wants a pizza authentication state. Ahaha. Something does want that. I see. Maybe it's... Actually, let's find out where that was used. Oh, it's like used on pages. So it's needed. Hang on a sec. Remote authenticate. I can provide the remote authentication state here. Can I? Got my crumbs on my keyboard from my Nutella toast earlier. Can I do that? Ooh, maybe it's not the API auth. I needed to replace just the OIDC. Yeah, okay. That's feeling positive. Well, not really. I mean, it's feeling like another thing that could break. Clear those. Come back to the network tab. Wait for it to start the server again. Come on. Reload. Here we go. No authority or metadata configured on settings. Okay. Well, let's just go back to the home page then. Maybe did I bounce too far too early? No, it's not even trying to load up the OIDC endpoints. So we got, it should be needing it. So like okay, so if we hit login, no authority or metadata URL configured on settings. But we configured one on setting. Like we gave it one, right? So app settings.json, app settings. I mean, is it not loading the config file? Ah, should be in www.root. My bad. Should have read the docs better. Then where is it? Here. Oh no, not authentication file route. Let's go back to the home route. Network again. Someone plays a boot file. It's just telling us all the DLLs that you're going to download. Look at them all! Look at them all! Okay. I don't think it loaded up that file. Don't think it did. Probably because I just moved it to that folder and then it won't have copied it across the output. So let's just force essentially a rebuild of the application and we'll see what happens next. Give it a moment for the server to start. The speediness that it is producing today. Oops. Reloads. Jack, I think I'm going to need to steal all the research you've been doing about building a stream machine. This is definitely struggling. Oh, there we go. It has loaded that file at settings.development.json. I mean, I don't know if it's pulled it down because it's actually doing something with it, or it's just gone, hey, there's a file there that I might serve. I didn't make a direct. Oh yes, something happened. Ooh, it might have worked. So we got our OIDC config back from Okta, not from Blazor, from Okta. Look at that. So that's all the authorization endpoints. Cool, cool. What happens if I hit authenticate/login? Check login state. Ooh. We got an error message. Okay, so that failed. But we did get an error message back. And what you can see up here is unsupported response type. Error description. The response type is not supported by the authorization server. Configured response types are code. Ooh, interesting. I wonder what it tried. Let's turn back on preserve log. I'm going to hit login again. Let's see what it bounces out to Okta with. And that's going to be on a doc request. Okay, so here are the authorization requests across to Okta. So we've gone here, headers. This is the, so we requested that. We've then bounced to Okta. We have passed it through, we wanted a response type of ID token. But we only configured it to support code, didn't we? Let's come back to our application. Sorry, Mitch. So you didn't actually see the error in the browser. If we come back here, see how it says completing login? It's saying that, but it hasn't actually completed login, and it will actually never complete. I noticed that the URL was looking huge still, right? And that's where I noticed the error in the query string here, error and then unsupported response type, error description, etc. So obviously the Blazor application isn't unpacking that error if it comes back, at least not the way that I've got it configured. So yeah, it's bounced back with an error there, which is a little annoying, but that's cool. We can deal with it because I just need to enable ID token as a request type, not just code, because at the moment I think I only configured it to have code. Come down here, yes. So I think it's implicit that I need to enable. I'm not edit. If we enable implicit, allow ID token with implicit grants. Yep. So let's save that. Come back to login. Yeah, that's true. The URL bar is probably pretty small on everyone's screen. Oh, hang on. It worked on everyone's screen. It worked. Check it out. Yeah, look at that. We've got my name there. I logged in. Can I log out? Oh, that's going to be annoying because it'll log me out of Okta if it does that. Which woohoo! Now you are logged out. If I go log in, so then this should bounce me out to the Okta login screen. Give it a second. Yep. Here we go. What was it? It was pizzaperson@test.com. Let's find their. That was their password. And then we should be able to log in with a different user account. So I can configure it in to only log out the application that logout was requested. Whatever. Test. I can't put my password as the answer to the question. Well, that's annoying. Okay, cool. I mean, I can log into Okta and have a play around with that. It's kind of somewhat immaterial, I think, whether it, at least for what I'm trying to achieve at the moment, signing me out of the external store. If we ever configured it to work through like a Twitter auth or something like that, that might be more of a problem. Okay, so we have completed logged in. Hey, look, and there we are. We're logged in as Pizza Person. Nice. Yes. Oh, I'm excited that that actually did work. So let's go back to network, XHR requests. What's the keys request? I wonder what that's doing. It's just the tokens and things. Yeah. So then, actually no, headers. I should have like a token on a request somewhere. Where isn't request headers. Now, what I need to do is work out how to pass all this stuff on the request headers. It's got all the stuff from before I was not preserving the logs. So what I'm wondering is, how do I unpack that user's profile? My guess is going to be off. I mean, we're doing something to unpack that user's profile, because we're putting it into that navigation header. Login display. Context, user, identity, name. Yeah, so that's that about the user. So I should be able to get other stuff about the user. I'm just curious to see whether or not I had my token visible to me. Okay, well, let's see. Could I do an email address? Context.user.identity. Ooh, I wonder what do I have on identity? I don't know what all the claims are going to be. Come on, give me some IntelliSense for this. I'm going to kill the .NET Watcher, because it's going to run on the file auto, and I auto save files after a certain delay. But I don't remember what's on the claims identity methods wise or properties wise. I bet I can't just F12 into it. But yeah, there should be a way that I could get that user's not password, email address, because that's I need something to map the user. Oh, well, that didn't work. Identity. Come on. No, there we go. IntelliSense has just given up. There we go. Dot name. Okay, so maybe it's not off the identity. Dot claims. And claims is, yeah, okay, that. Actually, yeah, well, we will just after the sign out button, we're doing that for each var claim in context user claims, and then we will just do a p, because why not? We'll do at claim dot type at claim dot value. Yeah, let's just dump out all of those. I shouldn't use the user. Yeah, probably shouldn't use the user's email address between Okta, because that could be changed inside of there. And I should be looking for some kind of a unique identifier that comes back from the OIDC server. Yeah, you're right there, Mitch. I shouldn't rely on the claim. But we'll just dump out, have a look at what the claims are. And then that might do it for today. The fact that I need to have a look into what's going on my machine that's making this run painfully slow today. It's a bit annoying, and it means it just trying to get much further, I think, is going to be problematic. And yeah, but next week we'd have a look at more in-depth stuff. Well, so just written in the chat that he ended up with a lot of problems when he changed an email address of his Facebook account. I argue that systems that allow you to change your email address, if they're using that as some sort of a primary thing, is problematic to begin with. I much prefer systems where I have an email address as my primary like identifier. But that's mostly because I don't actually change my email address. Okay, so here's all the claims that were coming back. I'm just going to expand out all the stuff here in the DOM. Preferred username. Whoops. Given name. Family name. Okay, so we probably want to be using, I think it would be sub. That's probably, or IDP. It's gonna be one of those. I think is we would like most likely want as the unique identifier for this user between sessions, so that if they did change their email address, it doesn't have a cascading fail through. Okay, so Mitch is like, you should use sub. But so that I can get that claim back out. But I don't want to unpack it in the Blazor application. I want that available on the server, so I need to make sure that we're passing through all this stuff that's as we sign in and out. As we're making requests across to the Azure functions, we need to make sure that this claims principle is getting sent across to that, and that I think will be a job for next week. So I've definitely got. We got the main thing that I wanted to do, which was to be able to sign in with an auth provider that isn't the OIDC running on top of, or like running our own OIDC. Now, obviously, I'm bouncing through Okta, but you could be doing Auth0 or like a Google has the Google accounts as an OIDC, or any you could stand up an ASP.NET Core application that is running externally of Blazor that is running as an OIDC using like Identity Server. And that's the end goal. Azure AD is
Google Help Center that might answer your question.
Oh.
I sent them in a notification to your phone.
Thanks, Google Home. So I've got a Google Home on my desk, and it just triggered off, and it's given me a whole bunch of. It's just sent a whole bunch of stuff to my phone around setting up account authorizations and whatnot. Awesome. Azure AD, Mitch, is not it's not an OIDC endpoint that you can consume from a Blazor application. You have to use Mazel. I think it's our own separate library to do that. I noticed. So if you have a look at the top of this document when I was starting to read it, I caught it because I noticed the italicized stuff and I saw the acronyms. I'm just tuned, like whenever I see an acronym in our document, like I can read and unpack that pretty quickly. So you actually have to do something slightly different if you want to use Azure AD or Azure AD B2C or Microsoft accounts through Azure AD. It uses something slightly different for Blazor stuff by the looks of it, because it's not an OIDC endpoint that you can just generally consume like you would consume any other OIDC endpoint. So I think it must set something different up in the templates. So you need a Mazel NuGet package instead of the generic authentication package which we're using for our application. And I know you're probably just partially trolling on the reference to Azure AD. It's a good start. Like we're able to auth with somewhere external. Okta. So I had an account. I know that Jack's doing stuff with Auth0. I would have used Auth0, but I didn't actually have an account already set up, so I would have had to go through that, and you don't need to watch someone setting up an account there as well. You can use Azure AD as I might be wrong, Mitch, but I was pretty sure that you could only use it as a OIDC provider if it was stuff with inside of your org, or you're using the Mazel approach. Let's pop the chat up on the window while we're talking, because we're winding down. But yeah, I didn't think you could actually, if I wanted to host a like a React application on Netlify, for example, I couldn't point that to Azure AD as the OIDC to use it, because it's not designed to do that. You have to use the Mazel packages. So there's like npm packages with the JavaScript for it and things like that. So you can use it as a single sign-on point, but it doesn't work the same as you would for just like generic OIDC. But yeah, it works. Plenty of companies I know use Azure AD as a single authentication place. I've worked at companies in the past where we were doing it. Red Cross here uses it for their blood donations. So like when you sign up to become a blood donor, you actually register an account through Azure AD, through their Azure AD and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like it's doable. It's usable as an authentication endpoint, but it's different to just like raw OIDC. There's stuff that we've got over the top of it. Yeah. Well, I haven't committed and pushed this stuff yet. I'm going to ignore that file in in my git ignore rather than pushing up my Okta stuff into the Git repo on GitHub. But we got a good another step of the way. But what I'm now starting to realize is really going to need to work out how to detect if we're running as an ASP.NET Core hosted Blazor application or a non-ASP.NET Core hosted Blazor application. So like through the dev server or through static web apps or something like that. Because we're going to need to start doing some different things. Obviously, we have to create different API endpoints that we're going to hit. For local development, we need to do either port 5001 or we need to do port 7071. We need to load in different authentication stuff depending on how we're being hosted. So we're going to probably need to put in some checks as the application starts up to work out what its host is like. And then we also need to be able to pass this authentication token across to our Azure Functions backend, unpack that auth token, connect that to the user accounts that you have, to the order information that you've got with inside of the external system, to then be able to display the orders for you, not just the orders for everyone, which is kind of what it's doing at the moment. But yeah, I think that will be some stuff that we'll tackle next week. And hopefully my machine will hold up for it. Okay, cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining in again this week. We'll be back midday Friday Australian Eastern Time next week. That's the primary day I'm streaming at the moment, but I'm thinking of adding another one. I'll ponder that and chat about that next time. But I hope this is, again, I hope it's been useful. I've definitely learnt a bunch of stuff about OIDC this week because I've been trying to work out how to do this for the stream, and I spent a lot of time in some of the internals of Blazor trying to work out how stuff works. But yeah, it looked very simple when I did it today. took me probably a good day to work out how to make it that simple. Yeah. Till next time, enjoy your weekends, everyone. I know the mic is still on and you can hear me typing.